Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome everyone to another CPC strategy hosted webinar. Today we have Salsify hosting with us on day two, actually our final session of our Q4 Amazon Growth Virtual Summit for Brands. If this is your first time with us, welcome, and we do hope to see more of you future summits, future webinars. If this is not your first time with us, welcome back. We hope you enjoyed today's presentation. So we all here realize Q4 is right around the corner. So today, Salsify will be talking about how to build a product page that really does win your brand's holiday sales. So before we begin, I do want to go over quickly the summit. As I mentioned, it's day two. It's the last session of the summit. Rest assured that if you missed any of the previous ones and you are interested in hearing about them, no worries. We will be sending out all sessions, slides, and recordings to all registrants within the 48 hours. So we did have CPC present on some advertising trends and tips. We had Solid Commerce speaking towards inventory management, and earlier today we had Jungle Scout speaking towards kind of keyword product strategies, that sort of thing. So I will go over the logistics as well. I'd like to introduce myself. I am Annalicia. I am CPC Strategies Webinar Coordinator, and today I will be moderating and kind of queuing up all your questions on the back end. So if you look at your GoToWebinar panel, you will see a tab that says questions. That is where you will submit your questions to our speaker, Malcolm, here today. If I feel like I'm getting the same question over and over, we need to clarify something, I'll jump in and ask Malcolm. But for the most part, we'll leave all questions to the end of the presentation where we have a live Q&A portion. But please submit your questions for Malcolm at any time, and I'll be here queuing those up. Another thing to mention is that we do have some handouts available for download. These are just some resources, additional resources meant to supplement the summit, so feel free to download those. Another last thing to mention is we do have a poll question coming up. We have a couple ones, and we'll get to that right after Malcolm introduces himself and Salsify and goes over the agenda. We'll launch those poll questions just to get an idea of who's in our audience today. So I believe now is when I will pass it on over to Malcolm, who will introduce Salsify and himself.
Thanks, Annalicia, and hi, everyone. My name is Malcolm. I am the head of marketing at Salsify. And for those of you who don't know, Salsify is a product experience management company. We work with about 500 brand manufacturers to help them create better exposure on the digital shelf. And we do that by managing the product content for about 30 to 35 million products across different e-commerce endpoints. Those can be marketplaces, those can be retailers, those can be direct-to-consumer sites, social media, etc. But really what we're focused on doing is helping brand manufacturers or brand owners get the best possible brand experience to their customers online. And we have some of our customers shown here. A little bit on my background. I've been here for about a year. Prior to this, I was at a e-commerce alcohol company called Drizzly, and before that at a retail analytics and media company. And this has been a really interesting place to work, really focused on some of the thorniest problems that brands encounter when it comes to growing digital sales. So that's a little bit about me and a little bit about Salsify. For today's session, we're going to dig into the new holiday landscape. So there's a lot changing, and especially for this year, this is going to be a breakout year for holiday sales online. We're going to talk a little bit about what's driving that. We're then going to dig into what consumers are looking for. So that's literally in terms of what they're searching for, but also more figuratively in terms of what they are expecting. What is a breakout, really impactful experience for them when it comes to e-commerce? We're going to talk a bit about how brands are preparing for the Q4 rush, whether they're a B2 consumer brand, whether a B2C brand where they really care about holiday shoppers, or even in the B2B space, we do see a huge Q4 rush. So we'll talk a bit about both of those areas. And then we're going to wrap up with some very specific recommendations for how to prep for Q4. At the end, I'm also going to point out a simple way for you to do a holiday readiness check so you can gauge the quality of your content today.
Okay,
so
great.
Annalisa, I'm going to hand it back to you. Yeah.
Yeah, go. Okay, cool. So I'm going to ask two poll questions. I'll launch the first of the two. So Malcolm, I know you can't see this on your screen, but our audience, this should be taking over your entire screen. So feel free to answer. The first question here is, how are you selling on Amazon? And if you're not yet selling on Amazon, I know we have some attendees in the audience today that are not yet selling on Amazon. So what would you be looking to, or what are you strategizing to sell on? Is it 1P, Vendor Central, 3P, Seller Central, or hybrid? Are you looking for both, or do you currently do both? So I will close this poll in the next couple seconds, give it a little bit here. Let's close these polls, and Malcolm, I will read the results to you, but to our audience, I will share it all. So how are you selling on Amazon? So 18, let's round it up to 20, about 20% are 1Ps, about 20% are hybrid, both vendor and seller, and then so 60, the majority of our audience here today is a 3P seller. So that pretty much does reflect our audience for the most part, as well as our registrants for the summit. So pretty good reflection there. So now we have the second poll, Malcolm, and this one is, what kind of company do you work for? We have manufacturer as an option, we have agency as an option, we have retailer, and we have other. So if you all could answer in on this one, just so we can kind of gauge who's in the audience, and Malcolm can give tips accordingly. So we'll keep this going on for another couple of seconds as well. I'll go ahead and close it now. So let's see what we got. So the majority are manufacturers. So we have 43% manufacturers, and then after that, got 29% being retailer, another majority, 20% being other. You can chime into the questions tab if you want to let us know what other kind of company you do work for, so we can see if there's another big majority chunk there. And then the smallest majority we have here is agency at 6%. So manufacturer, the biggest, retailer, second biggest, other, and then agency. So I will go ahead and close these polls. So we have mostly 3P sellers and mostly manufacturers in the audience.
Okay, great.
So
That's really
yes,
helpful. Yeah, thanks for doing that,
oh,
Annalisa.
of course,
And
of course.
thanks everyone for answering that. And Annalisa, did you hand back over the screen? I'm not seeing the
Yeah, I
presentation right now.
did. We are looking at right now an iTunes store and a couple of Excel.
That is not what we want to be looking at. How about that?
There we go. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, better. Okay, good. Well, thanks everyone. So great to see the composition of who's on today's webinar. So most of you are manufacturers, and that lines up well with who we primarily work with. So that's great to see. And it's a nice mix of 1P, 3P, and hybrid sellers. We primarily work with 1P and hybrid sellers, but I think that some of the content in here will also be effective for 3P sellers and also for the retailers and agencies. Some of the stuff that's in here is very transferable knowledge. Okay, so let's dig into what's going on this year. So 2018 holidays, I guarantee, is going to be exciting. So there's a lot of things driving that. I mean, we have a fantastic economy going on right now. Whether you agree with who caused the great economy right now or not, you have to admit that overall consumer sentiment is high, consumer spending is high. We're also seeing that in the B2B area as well. We are seeing a continuing, very powerful, ongoing shift to e-commerce. E-commerce is overall growing at 15% a year, and especially during the holidays, it spikes up higher than that. And then a lot of people question if 15% is even the right growth rate, because it seems like everybody we work with are growing at 30% or more every year. So you kind of have to wonder who's growing at less than 15%. Regardless, there's a lot of contributing factors that indicate that holiday 2018 is promising to be a record session. A little bit into the specific numbers, this is from eMarketer. They're projecting 15% growth for the holiday season, which they're defining as November and December for each year. Last year it grew 17.8%. This year they projected 15.3% growth. That's compared to the darker line, which is overall retail holiday sales. So traditional holiday, bricks and mortar sales are projected to grow at about 3.8%. Now, I got to tell you, these numbers came out in March, and I think they're too low. A more recent study that came out from Deloitte is suggesting we're going to see almost 17% growth for e-commerce year over year for a total of $134 billion in U.S. e-commerce sales in the holiday period. That's up from $110 billion last year. So a lot of reasons to be excited about the holiday season. Now let's talk a little bit about how people shop. It used to be for the holiday periods that you were pretty limited in how you went and shopped, and specifically when it came to toys, kids would go line up in front of the local retailer, look at all the fun new toys for the holiday, and then bug their parents to get those toys. That's really not how it happens anymore. Increasingly, the shoppers are in charge of when, how, and where they're going to shop. So the fundamental dynamics have changed. And of course, this is a story you can tell more broadly about digital, but we definitely see it when people are searching for products. A9, Amazon search engine, is the most authoritative search engine for products now. It's the most popular search engine for product searches now. And a big reason for that is because consumers trust and value the responses they get on Amazon more than the responses they get on Google or other search engines. That's because they can see price points, but also because they can see reviews, product reviews, and often critical product reviews of products that they're searching for. So given this mindset, it's incumbent on brand manufacturers and brand owners to really keep this marketplace in mind. Even if today the vast majority of your sales are happening in bricks and mortar, the growth for your business, for your category, is almost assuredly coming through e-commerce channels. So you need to skate to where the puck is going, not where the puck is right now. Invest and plan ahead of the curve. Focus on e-commerce sales. So the other interesting thing about e-commerce is that it changes really fast, what consumers are focused on. So we research a lot of data here that has to do with e-commerce and how manufacturers are going to market on the digital shelf and how consumers are behaving and what consumers are interested in. And we just did a poll recently about popular search terms in Amazon. And I just pulled this table out to show how much has changed or how much can change in a one-year period. In that middle column, you're going to see the search rank for different terms in 2016, and then what the rank was for that same term in 2017. Dog toys got really popular in 2017. Pressure cookers, the Instapot came out last year, hot product, drove a lot of category interest. Security camera, we're seeing, with Google Home and other devices, a lot more consumer interest in that category, certainly last year. Beard trimmer, don't know where that came from, but there you go. Electric blankets, same thing. Can't comment on that. But I think the thing to take in mind is that you need to pay attention to what consumers are shopping for and do firsthand research on it, and we'll talk a little bit about how you can do that, and then take steps to ensure that your product is discoverable for those consumers who are really broadcasting what they're interested in. So let's talk about what a product page looks like on Amazon and what goes into it. This is, everybody loves bubble wrap, and especially in the holiday season, if you're shipping a product, you want to wrap in a bubble wrap. In full disclosure, this is one of our clients, but we pulled it out because we think it's an example of a good product page. You can think about a good product page as kind of like a duck swimming in the water. On top of the water, it looks very calm, very graceful. It's cruising through the water very smoothly. But below the surface, those ducks' feet are just churning away, just working really hard. And the same is true for any good, active brand behind the scenes managing how they are appearing on the digital shelf. If I go from left to right on this screen, there's an image gallery for every product page. You have to make sure that those products are up to date, they're in line with your current packaging or your ad campaign. Include video. Consumers look at all of the images in here. They don't want just a head-on product shot. They want to see the product in situ. They want to see it in usage occasions. They want to see a video calling out specific features or recommendations on how to use the product. So use all the spots that you have available to you in that gallery. it really makes a difference. And we'll talk a little bit about the numbers on that as well. Moving over a little bit more, make sure that your product stock is actively managed. If your product goes out of stock, it significantly hurts your visibility, your search ranking. Amazon's algorithm pays attention to everything, and you will get penalized if you run out of stock. Going down a little bit, unit data, you have to make sure you have your variants mapped in here. If they're not associated with the right parent product, you are not going to be visible for your variant, and you will not get sales. So it's really important to manage that actively. And I know there are a lot of 3Ps on the call now. 3Ps are very active at looking at parent product pages and often work their way into these variants in clever ways. 1Ps, you need to pay attention to that dynamic and manage it actively. Now, 1Ps and 3Ps have different capabilities when it comes to price. You always want to sell at a profit, not just for yourself, but also for Amazon. If you're a 1P and you are selling at a price that is not going to let Amazon effectively compete for the buy box with your product, they are going to crap you out, and your product is not going to be listed. Now, I've written this page specifically for 1Ps. You want to make sure you understand who the 3P sellers are on your product and really monitor that buy box. Again, for the 3Ps, know that the 1Ps are watching you and managing that. The last thing on this, just in the bottom center, feature bullets. They're there for a reason. We definitely see that if you take advantage of your feature bullets, if you write longer feature bullets, if you use all of the feature bullets allotted to you in your category, you will convert at a higher rate. So there's a lot that goes on into managing a product page on Amazon. Now, let's back up a bit and talk about what leads to success. I'm going to tell a little story of two different brands. Now, the brand in the red is a brand that's been around for decades. This is a very well-known brand in kind of a niche category, but it also is a dominant brand in that category. Its bricks and mortar sales are much higher than any competitor. And then in the blue, we have kind of an upstart brand, not as well known. The offline bricks and mortar sales are not that high. Now, when it comes to the digital shelf, you would assume that that dominant brand, and I should clarify, this graph is taken from Google Trends. So this is actually search volume. This is expressed consumer interest on the internet, right, of the terms that they're searching for. And you can see that it's not just about what people are buying offline. This is actually what people are searching for when it comes online. So if you go to the PDP, this is the brand in red. And so this is Turtle Wax. Turtle Wax has been around for a very long time. And this is how they're going to market with one of their top ASINs on Amazon. It's accurate, right? There's an accurate product shot. There is an accurate product description. And they have 227 customer reviews. Okay, good. Hard to blame. It's hard to fault them. Like, what's wrong here? They have their feature bullets. They have a couple of variants here. Well, when you look at that other brand, that upstart, it's not a very well-known brand unless you really know car wax. And I don't know what percent. Maybe we should run another poll to find out how many people are really excited about cars. But this is Mother's California Gold, and fairly new brand, especially in relation to Turtle Wax. But just look at this page. I mean, this is a beautiful product page. They've done a fantastic job of merchandising this product. This is not a head-on product shot. This is an exploded product shot. They have the product in multiple formats here. They have not only taken advantage of the basic stuff like the product description and the feature bullets, but they have added their own videos. They've solicited videos from their customers. They have a very vibrant Q&A section on this page that they're actively managing with a community manager. In their image gallery, they have 3 videos. If you go down the page, they have a great section of enhanced brand content. So for 3Ps out there, you may know about the below the fold enhanced brand content. For 1Ps, this is A+ content that you can work with Amazon to get posted. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit, but here they've done a really nice job of not just talking about the product, but also giving usage tips. You know, this is a little bit of an unusual product, how the clay bar format works, but they're showing people how to do it. They're bringing to life why it's better. And then I'm not showing it here, but they have a nice section on their customer warranty. Now, you would think by looking at that first chart that Turtle Wax would be winning the dominant volume of shares, but actually Mother's California Gold is the #1 product in this category. Turtle Wax is 18. So there's a big difference in terms of what your presence looks like on the digital shelf and the impact it makes on your online sales. So I wanted to just show that as a quick example. Now, again, we do a lot of research with consumers, and they tell us that they're often just going to leave a product page or give up on a shopping trip if they can't find the information that they want. Consumers are in a path when they're shopping online. They're looking for enough information to give them confidence to click add to cart, or really want to understand why one product is better for them than another competing offering. You need to understand that consumer's mindset when you are mapping out what's on your product page. So a little bit more research that we've done. This is from a poll that we did of 1,000 online customers earlier this year. And we were trying to get at what drives that trust. You know, what makes them confident enough to click add to cart or to provide their credit card information. And so one of the questions we asked was, who gives you the most useful product information or recommendation? And you can see that by a wide range, it's Amazon. This comes back to that stat that we see that Amazon, or A9, has become the dominant search engine for product information. If you are a brand owner or a product owner, you need to take A9 seriously and make sure that you are putting your efforts into merchandising yourself effectively through Amazon. In many ways, Amazon is the new billboard. Amazon is the new national ad campaign. Amazon is your face to the market. Manage it accordingly. The other thing that we see is that consumers want images. They want images that are high enough res that they can zoom in on a product. They want videos, and generally, the more, the better. We see that 73 consumers need 3+ images in order to feel comfortable or trusting of they can feel confident of a product purchase. The other area has to do with reviews. And this is consistent with the other research that we've done. The way this chart, this slide is organized is we asked questions of how many reviews do you need to see before you'll be comfortable making a purchase. For household staples, you know that there's a pretty good distribution between 1 and 5 or more reviews. When it comes to clothing, which is at a slightly higher price point, you'll see a high percentage of people want more than 3 product reviews. When you get into higher priced categories like electronics, consumers really want to see more reviews. So here we're saying 62% of consumers want 5 or more product reviews in order to feel confident that they are making the right product selection. So in addition to that consumer research we've done, we also do quantitative research. Again, we're managing content for about 35 million products online across about 1,000 retailer endpoints. There's a lot of information that we're tracking. And what we see in aggregate is that about 51% of the time, a listing with more feature bullets is going to convert at a higher rate than its top competitor, and it's going to outrank its top competitor when it comes to search engine result pages. Now, that doesn't sound like a high number, but if you think about the volume of searches that are happening and the volume of glance views that are happening to product pages on Amazon, there's a very significant aggregate effect. So again, make sure to use all the feature bullets allotted to you and cram them full of good content that brings to life your product features and benefits. We see that 53% of the time, a listing with more images will convert at a higher rate and outrank its top competitor. I mean, we're not saying, specifically what kind of images you need to show. We're just saying that you need to have more of them. Now, if we dug into this and we had a way of parsing out quality, I'm sure that number would go much higher, but just even as simple as having more images is going to correspond to an aggregate higher conversion rate and presence. And then we see 58% of the time, a listing with more reviews is going to convert at a higher rate and outrank its top competitor. So in terms of the impact there, it goes on the lower end from feature bullets through to images, and then reviews really matter. Make sure to activate your customers to write reviews. Negative reviews are fine. You want your reviews to be better. You want your average rating to be above 4. But consumers, even buyers, are going to be looking at your negative reviews, often because they want to make an informed purchase and they trust negative reviews a little bit more than just 4 or 5-star reviews. If you only have 5-star reviews, you're going to have a conversion problem. People won't trust them. So there's some interesting things that go on during the holiday period when it comes to search activity. Now again, the holiday time period is November and December. And one thing that we see is that consumers are using a much wider array of search terms during those 2 months. We always see that branded terms are a higher volume when it comes to product searches, but unbranded is a big driver of the increase in volume. The other thing that we see is that brands have caught on to this, and brands are aggressively boosting their discoverability for their products during that same time period. So as consumers are searching with a broader number of search terms, brands are adapting by updating the content that's powering their product listings with additional content. So we're seeing that more and more brands have caught on to the fact that consumers are changing the way that they're finding different products, and we see more and more brands being active. If you're not actively managing your product listings, there's probably a good chance that your competitors are, and you want to keep that in mind. So I want to get into some specifics now about some things that you can do to win holiday sales, things you can do with your product pages to win holiday sales. The first one is that you can prioritize your top ASINs. So some of the brands that we work with are selling tens of thousands of SKUs. And as you can imagine, the more SKUs or ASINs that you have, the more retail platforms you sell them across, you start to get into this, the really high volume of product listings and information that goes along with those that becomes too much for any one person to handle, especially if you're not automating certain aspects of that job. That's a lot of what we do is automate those processes and make it easier for people to manage that content. But one thing that we've found in working with our clients is that if you take a Pareto principle approach and you focus on the 20% of your SKUs that are creating 80% of the volume or profit, you can create a more significant impact on your digital business than trying to do a little bit on all of your products. So we worked with a very large toy supplier, and we improved their sales rank by 45% for their top products. And this was by very deliberately focusing on their top 100 products, not their entire product portfolio. And we have a grading system that allows us to rate all of their product pages, break it down by the components of the pages, and then get an aggregate score. And then there's a systematic method we can employ that says, okay, these pages have an aggregate grade of C, these are a B, these are Fs, etc. Here are some workflows you can put in place with your teams to improve that content. And then over this time period, they were able to see a 45% lift, sales rank improvement for top products. Sales rank is really important. You need to think in terms of category share when it comes to the digital shelf. And so we find sales rank is a very effective proxy for market share within a category. So that's one of the key metrics that we work with our clients to optimize. Now this is a fun one, I think, given the composition of who's on this audience. A lot of 3Ps are going to piggyback on 1P pages. And 1Ps get very frustrated by this because it leads to uneven customer experiences. On the right, I'm showing components of two different product pages. On the top is the 1P product page. And this is for a hardback notebook. It's a ruled notebook. And you can see the image on the top. It's a solid black with some red letters across the bottom. But one of those variants listed on that page pulls up the product page down below, and this is sold by a 3P. And what infuriates the brand here is not only is the pricing on a per unit basis a little bit skewed and against their policy, but the image shot here, you'll see there's a little metal item that shows up on that cover. And they're not licensed to sell that specific product in this market. So the product that's being shown to the consumers in that market, this is the UK, is either not the right image, so the consumer is not going to get what they expect to get, or it's not licensed for sale in that market. And so that's something that the brand is always trying to manage. We have some clients who are in the pharmaceutical space, and there are 3P sellers who are selling their products in markets they're not authorized to, or are making inaccurate claims or product shots about those products. And it becomes a real problem for liability reasons for companies like that. So we advise all of our 1P clients to police variants very aggressively. I mentioned this earlier, but this is a key point. You have to stay in stock on Amazon. Every out of stock that you run into is going to damage your brand. And partly that's because of the visibility impact that it has on the search engine result pages. So Amazon's algorithm keeps track of glance views and then your ability to convert those glance views. And if your product goes out of stock, obviously someone's not able to convert with your product. We had one client who went out of stock, I think it was for 8 hours, but that had the impact of reducing their discoverability for about 3 months. It took them 3 months to get back to the level that they were prior to their out-of-stock scenario. So there's some things that we do to help brands forecast demand and stay ahead of those possible inventory outages. So it's a pretty crucial part of your merchandising approach on Amazon. Again, coming back to the ongoing tug of war between 1Ps and 3Ps, we're always working with our brands to help them understand who's winning the buy box. This is a visual for one of our buy box reporting tools. But you want to understand not only who's winning it so you can change price if you need to, but this also helps identify when there are authorized resellers who are violating MAP agreements or as part of a larger effort to move towards authorized seller agreements. A tool like this is crucial to really understand where your authorized sellers are coming in with pricing, and then any new unauthorized sellers that are coming into the market. A tool like this is very effective at keeping an eye on that. This is something I mentioned earlier as well. You want to out-hustle the competition when it comes to updating your content. Again, this graph shows by month when product content refreshes are happening. And we see that there's a 25x lift in November over October in terms of the number of product content updates that are going through the system. Brands know that they need to fight hard to win glance views and to get conversions. And especially when so much volume happens during this time period, if you're not actively managing your content, your competitors are, and they're going to steal your glance views and your purchases. So you don't want that to happen. We see a lot of brands have success by updating the images, and these are the images that could be aligned to seasonality in their product shots. It could be things that are just more products in situ, product shots. Here's an air hockey table that 2 kids are playing with under a Christmas tree. Things like this have a nice impact on showing consumers that the product is in line with the holiday time period, that it's aligned with what they are thinking of when it comes to a present for someone, for instance, and makes them more willing to trust, more willing to convert. This is about making the most of enhanced content, below the fold content. So this is Keurig Coffee, which is a company that we work with. On the left, this is some of the premium A+ content that Amazon is now offering to some of the larger manufacturers out there. You may not be able to see it, but on the product controls on this image, which is below this is the below the fold content. There are little hotspots. And if you roll over those hotspots, they're going to have little text balloons that pop out and call out specific features or advantages of a certain product. On the right is another premium A+ content feature that Amazon is making available to the larger customers, and it's the product comparison chart. This is different than the product comparison chart that is automatically generated. This is one that's controlled by a manufacturer, and it helps consumers make an informed choice from across their specific product portfolio. So Acura uses this really well to help consumers hone in on just the right coffee maker for them. Now, you might say, are these things worth it? Is A+ content worth it? Just to back up, the overall below the fold HTML content is effective. We do see higher conversion rates. Now, specifically to A+ premium content, these are the two components of A+ premium content that Amazon told us have a real impact on conversion rates as opposed to general A+ content. So the hotspots, those rollover features, and the product comparison charts are very effective at driving a lift in conversion. Now, keep in mind that a lift to conversion is crucial to getting discovered. And this brings me to the last point, that you want to monitor what's working and adapt quickly. The thing about Amazon is that, unlike some other shopping platforms like maybe Etsy or Walmart, it's less of a discovery platform. It's less of a shopping environment, and it's more of a conversion engine. And Amazon really rewards sales velocity. So there are two things that go into sales velocity. One is how often are you discovered or found by consumers, by shoppers, and how often do they add you to their cart? So you can think of this as a feedback cycle. And you're either on top of this wheel, you're either on top of this feedback cycle, and it's working to your benefit, or you're being crushed by it. And that's just the nature of the Amazon algorithm. And there are some very specific things that you can do to stay on top of this cycle. So there are things that you can supply, like fulfillment method. Are you Prime enabled FBA? Are you supplying A+ content? Are you taking advantage of all your images in the image gallery? There are things you earn. Now, partly you earn price by winning the buy box. Ratings and reviews are something you earn by giving customers an experience that satisfies or exceeds their expectations. Now, on the discoverability side of the chart, there are things that you buy, like advertising and promotions. These will certainly make you more visible. They will get you more glance views. They will absolutely eat into your margin. They are expensive things that you would have to really decide are worthwhile investments for you. And then there are things that you supply on this side as well. You have to have product available for consumers. You have to make sure that you're writing copy that will get you discovered and inform consumers. And ultimately, that's going to get you sales velocity. Remember, sales velocity is king. It's the thing that will get you the most visibility on Amazon and grow your business the most. So those are the 8 things that we recommend that you pursue in terms of making the most of your holiday season with your product pages. I do have a more succinct checklist that you can use to make sure that your specific product pages are optimized. And these are pretty straightforward things that anyone who's managing content on your products can take advantage of. It's things like making sure that you have at least 15 reviews, that your rating's coming in at a 4 or higher. Number 6, make sure to optimize your titles for A9 performance. There are lots of tricks that you can find online for how to do that. Amazon's predictive text feature is a great way to understand what terms belong in your title. Use it to your benefit. Product descriptions, make sure that you use up all the words that you can. Definitely take advantage of below the fold enhanced content. And since this is such a great mix of 3P and 1Ps, make sure to monitor variants, either for 3Ps who aren't compliant, or if you're a 3P, you're going to find lots of visibility for your products by attaching yourself to successful ASINs. So that is most of the content. I did want to point you out to a feature that will help you check your holiday readiness for your product pages. If you go to greater.salsify.com, this is a free tool that you can use to look up your brand and see how your products are performing. And it's going to give you a report like the one that's shown on the right for specific SKUs, for specific aspects of those, for those ASINs. How good is your content? How ready is it to get you discovered by shoppers and to get conversions from those shoppers? So Annalisa, that's the end of my content.
Great, thank you so much, Malcolm. So I have sent out everyone that link, that greater.salsify.com. So everyone, if you look at your chat, your questions tab, you should see that link so you guys can all go and check out Salsify. So I do have some questions for you, Malcolm, some queued up. And I guess I'll start it off with this one that really, I guess it's Jason, he's a little bit more familiar with your platform. So he's wondering what Salsify offers that's different from Profitero or Clavis.
Yeah, so Profitero and Clavis are really focused on e-commerce analytics, and they do some great e-commerce analytics, especially some more advanced things. We are focused on not just analytics. We hone in on those analytics that help you take action, and then we tie those into workflows that help your entire team optimize content. So you don't need to go from tool to tool. Our e-commerce analytics are integrated into a system that help you manage content, and that's your internal content that's integrated with your backend feeds that you can then publish to Amazon and also publish out to any other marketplaces or retailers that you're selling on. So we're focused on those e-commerce analytics that tie to product performance online. I think Profitero and Clavis do great things. They're a little bit different than what we're focused on.
Got it. Thank you so much for that. So I do have another question here from Amy Lynn, who I know has been tuning into some of the other summits. Welcome, Amy Lynn, again. So how does one get to the hotspot or the rollover features in their A+ pages? Are you familiar with this?
Yeah, you'd have to go through your account rep. So again, this is just for the larger, and I'm assuming her question is how does a brand manufacturer get to that, or the product owner? You have to go to your Amazon account rep and indicate you're interested in A+ content. If you are large enough, they will make some of these advanced features available to you. As a consumer, I would just suggest you go to any Keurig coffee maker, scroll down the PDP until you get to, you'll see it. It's very visual. It's very beautiful content. And you'll see little hotspots overlaid on top of those images. Okay. But again, this is a feature that's reserved for some of the larger 1P vendors.
Okay, got it. So then I have a question here from Margaret, who's wondering if sellers, she's a 3P seller, can upload extra photos, videos, branded content onto the product page, or if that's limited to Amazon select vendors. It's for both, right? I think you may be to EBC and A+.
There's actually more capabilities available to sellers than there are to vendors. So all those things are available to sellers. The thing I didn't get into, but it's a big thing that people on this call should know about, is that Amazon knows that there's a disparity between the features they've made available to vendors and the features they've made available to sellers. And they are going to be moving towards what they call seller singularity. And they're going to be merging Vendor Central and Seller Central into a new platform that are going to give consistent functionality to both groups. And there's going to be new terminology. So instead of vendors and sellers, they're going to talk about selling partners, right? So Amazon is going to have selling partners that sell product through its platform. And those selling the selling partners are going to be distinguished between brand owners, and those are, you could correlate that to the 1Ps today, largely, and resellers, which you could say would be anyone. And then they're going to be beefing up brand registry as the tool that will be helping brand owners manage the accuracy and quality of the content that is showcased in their products.
Got it. Thank you so much. So I do have a question here. It's from Joe. He says he's trying to log into are trying to sign up for the Salsify eval and his brand name is not available. If anyone else is signing up with this sort of issue, how do you advise that they move forward with reaching out to Salsify? Maybe is there a contact page? Should I send that over to them? Is that okay?
Yep. So if you're having a problem, write an email to Sarah, Sarah, at salsify.com. That will come through to our marketing team, and we will run a custom report for your brand.
Okay, got it. I just sent that over to everyone as well. And we do have time. I know we're over that. I guess this will be the last question. So what is the right approach for the below the fold content on a product, what is it, PDP, product detail page?
Yep.
Less is more as consumers are ready to buy, or, are longer descriptions better?
Longer is definitely better.
Longer is better?
So longer is better. Consumers don't mind scrolling down. If there's no reason not to put more content there. Images are great. Don't just put lots and lots of text. Make sure that there's helpful imagery provided along with that text. But an active, engaged consumer who's trying to make an informed purchase decision is going to eat that stuff up. So there's no real reason to sell yourself short. Put as much content in there as you can. But again, write it with the consumer's point of view in mind.
Got it. And then I will ask just one more because it's been coming in from a lot of different attendees. It's kind of two-part, I guess. One's coming from the vendor side or one's coming from the seller side. So one, this will be the last one. I know that we're running over time here. If you are a 3P seller and you're, selling the same product as many people, how do you stand out from the crowd? And I guess that's coming from the sellers. And then vendors are wondering, or whoever owns the product, maybe the brand manufacturers, how do you deal with people that might be in violation? So maybe not the sellers that are following the protocol, but how do you deal with
this is a very interesting issue, right? You're getting right at the heart. This is the tug of war that's going on right now on Amazon between 1P and 3Ps. So the biggest lever that 3Ps have, well, there are a couple of different levers you have as a 3P seller. The big one is price. Now, price is expensive because the more you invest in price, the more, the lower your margin and it's going to hurt. But you are going to win the buy box for a period of time, and the algorithm will remember that, and it's going to give you more visibility for a period of time. If you only compete on price, you're going to create a war of attrition, and that is going to pull down price for everyone. And eventually, if there's a 1P seller for that product, they're going to get crapped out, and it becomes chaos, right? But another way to compete is you can take advantage of Amazon advertising tools to build visibility. And then if you have engaged customers, you can also, there are other ways to build glance views, like social media campaigns are effective ways to get consumers to drive glance views to your page. Those can be paid campaigns or earned campaigns you're running on social media. The more glance views you drive through to your product page, especially if you can convert them, that's going to raise your visibility. Now, the question from the 1P about how to monitor 3Ps in violation, that's a big topic. I would say that the simple answer is move to an authorized seller agreement framework and then actively manage your authorized sellers to ensure that they're in compliance with your MAP pricing. And that you can aggressively pursue unauthorized sellers. Eventually, Amazon's brand registry is going to offer some of that functionality to automate that. But it's a long-term solve. And I would encourage you to do some research into best methods for doing it and who some partners are that can help you do that. But the shorter answer is move towards an authorized reseller approach.
Yeah, I know that is a huge pain point for at least a huge part of our audience at CPC Strategy when it comes to, brand gating and getting unauthorized sellers off and MAP policy and the whole nine. So I'm sorry to everyone that we've run over. I know that it's a good thing that Malcolm got to all these Q&As, but unfortunately, we have run out of time, so that about wraps it up. So I want to say thank you to you, Malcolm, for the amazing presentation and for the amazing Q&A. I also want to say thank you to our audience. Thank you for taking out 45, actually 50 minutes of your day to be here with us, to join in on the summit and hear what Malcolm had to say. So on behalf of CPC Strategy and Salsify, I'd like to say thank you and goodbye to you all. Or until next time.